Okay, so welcome aboard to this Pirsum Rishon, brand new Xaviad Kodesh, just released. I received it yesterday. It's got to do with Tisha B'av, and it's from Tofshin Memhei. Two things which were addressed then. It looks like that the Rebbe had given instructions that at Shachris the Chazan should say Birchas Koyanim, contrary to our general minhag. And secondly, that the Rebbe had instructed that the wine for Motzei Tondis should be, at Havdalah, should be given to a child. So these are the 2 points which are addressed here. It looks like Rabbi Groner of Sholem had written to the Rebbe, and as the Rebbe he'd asked about these things, and he asked, is it Hiras Shah? And the Rebbe affirmed that both of them are Hiras Shah. There you can see the arrow, when label had written Zohir Hiras Shah, and the Rebbe underlines that. And the second thing also here, Al Derech Zer HaHiroeh, so the Rebbe added the word Hiras Shah, changed it to a Shah. So we've got 2 interesting Hiras Shah of the Rebbe. There are lots of references here, which I'd like to explore with you. So the actual Ksav has been deciphered. And so in reference to the first thing, about the Chazan saying Birchas Koyanim, so the Rebbe refers to Minhag HaMekubalim B'Yerushalayim Tibonim V'Sishkayin Ato. That's the current minhag of the Mekubalim Yerushalayim. And it's also the minhag as it's written in Reb Amram Goen V'Oid. And then the Rebbe points to this, with an arrow, it's Hiras Shah. So let's first deal with that, and then we'll come back to the second Hirah. So here we have at the top of the page, Reb Amram Goen, and this is in the section of the Reb Amram Goen is the earliest Siddur that we have, going back perhaps 1,200 years or more. And in this section on Tisha B'av, he writes, "V'chayovin koyanim liso eskapeihem bein b'shachris bein b'mincha." That the koyanim do birchas koyanim at shachris and at mincha. Now, then the other reference which we have here is to the minhag ha-mekubalim Yerushalayim Tibonim V'Sishkayin. That obviously is referring to the minhag Beis Kel Yakabetz, which is the Kahil of Mekubalim in Yerushalayim, which the minhagim are recorded continually recurringly in the Kaf HaChaim. So here we have Kaf HaChaim, and that is Tov Kuf, I think it's Tov Kuf Non Tes. But anyway, it's the Kaf HaChaim where this comes up. So in the Shulchan Aruch, there's no mention of not saying Birchas Koyanim. This is the earliest source which we have is actually the Shiori. Well, not the earliest. It's written in Kitzur Shulchan Aruch. It's written in Luach Kael Chabad. The source which they give is the Shiori Knesset Sagdola, and you can see it's in Tov Kuf Nun Tes, yes, that the Chazan does not say Birchas Koyanim. So just be sensitive. Reb Amram Goen is talking about Birchas Kohen Kipshutai, the Kohanim going up front and raising their hands, etc., as a minhag Sfardim to do Birchas Koyanim b'chol yoim, even in Chutz La'aretz. As a development, we're talking about the Chazan saying Birchas Koyanim, and the Shiori Knesset Sagdola says 2 reasons. One is, since a Kohen who is in a state of Avelis doesn't do Birchas Koyanim, and Tisha B'av, all Koyanim are Avelim for Churban B'Hamikdash, therefore there's no Birchas Koyanim. Second reason given, there's a pasuk of Farischem Kapechem, the Eibishter will say, when you spread out your palms, I won't take heed. And so these are the 2 reasons. So the Dogma Vav, the Nodi Behuda, he says the first reason you can say, he gives a reference to Simkuf Chav Zayin, which I did not look up. The second reason is Derech Drush, and he gives a third reason for this minhag, and he says Piers Neizdaiti, because Tisha B'av is also B'Shelas Sholem, Ve'ech Yoima V'Yosem L'Chol Sholem. So this is the explanation of the Noda of Yehuda and the Dagam Mervava in Tavkuf Nontes for the minig of not saying B'chas Koyanim at Shacharis. Earlier, around the same time, the Noda of Yehuda was a contemporary of the Baal Shem Tov. The Elia Rabbe was not far apart, actually, historically. And here we have, he also quotes the Shor Kenes Agdola, and he writes here that is written in the Tanya, and the earlier the Rishon called the Tanya, who's almost like a parallel of the Shibbolei Haleket, and he says, "Lochein lo yomer bebeis oval, kshe'ovel mispal bebayis, kiven she'ovel ein nesek kapel." So the Elia Rabbe brings this minig of not saying Bechas Koyanim. He then says, but indeed our minig is that we do. There's no mention in our minhagim about not saying Bechas Koyanim in Tisha B'av morning. So here we have some, this means more Sephardish, this Knesset Agdola is Sephardish. So they had this minig of not saying Bechas Koyanim. And the Elia Rabbe says, well, the local meaning is that they do. And then we have, as I said, the Kaf HaChaim. He quotes Avud Arham, again, as Fardisha, Rishon. And then he brings Knesset Agdola, Shore, and then he brings their reasons. The Elia Rabbe says that's not the minig in his part of the world. And then he gives another reference to Olas Shmuel, Piskei Tshuva. And then he brings Elia Rabbo. V'chein hu minag beis keil hanizker loima birchas koyanim gam b'shachris Tisha B'av mipnei hakavona sheyochel lahem. So there is an union of saying al pi Kabbalah even shachris should also say birchas koyanim. The gam b'Tisha B'av nagin lechavin b'seder atfil k'mei b'shayom. The shachris is the same as the kavonas are the same. So al pi Kabbalah one should say. So this is the Rebbe's first answer, that although the Rebbe said it's only Heiruas Shor, but we have here ample sources for the minig of Dafka saying Birchas Koyanim even at Shachris of Tisha B'av. The only thing I can suggest why it was brought in then, who knows the Rebbe's Kavonas, but it was, to fill you in, that was the whole parasha of the Sforim exploded Yud Beis Tammuz, Tov Shin Mem Hey. And possibly this may have been related about bringing more the union of Brocha and having the Chaz and Sebruch. Fine. Then we go on to the second point, and that is where the Rebbe had apparently discussed and had instructed that the child should drink the cup of wine for Havdalah on Motzei Tisha B'av. Now, Tov Shin Mem Hey was the same piece as this year, that Tisha B'av was on Shabbos and Nidcha to Sunday. And the Rebbe gives, he says, so let's read the text. The chap is be'Elia Rabba. So he just tells us to search in Elia Rabba for whether the child should drink or it should be drunk by an adult. V'chein machshma beluach Tukachinsky ve'oid. Now, Michiel Tukachinsky used to publish a luach, and indeed, as far as I remember, the initiative of Reb Chaim Noah publishing the Luach Kel Chabad was because he felt, why should the Chabad shuls follow the Luach of Rav Tukachinsky, which is not according to Chabad? And that's what made him, there's a biography of Reb Chaim Noah called Noida Bashorim. As far as I remember, this is told over there. I did not manage to get hold of the Luach of Rav Tukachinsky, so I can't confirm that, but this is the Rebbe's reference to the Ruach of Tukachinsky. On the impression, the silence of the Meforshim, they don't say you can drink it yourself, therefore the assumption is you're not allowed to drink it yourself. Nevada Dogel Mervavo, in an exception of the Noda Yehuda in his notes, we'll see soon, and he brings a proof And he's proving for the fact that they don't mention to give it to a child. The Pashtus, just like in Siman Tov Kuf Nun Aleph, it says during the 9 days you should give the cup of wine to a child by Havdalah. So the same thing should be from Motzei Tisha B'av. The source, the modern Dogim we'll see in a moment, is going to show a source that Motzei Tisha B'av is more lenient than during the 9 days. It's not mentioned there in that context. It's not mentioned that the Kos of Havdalah is mutter. Although it's written mefurish as Shulchan Aruch that Motzei Tisha B'av, even Nidche, is also b'bostav hayayin, sof siman tov kuf nun ches. There's no mention, but the cup of Havdalah you're allowed to drink. So therefore, the Rebbe is saying from the silence in Tov Kuf Nun Ches that Motzei Tisha B'av is also b'yayin. And other than the Dogim B'av, they don't say that you can drink it yourself and you don't have to give it a tinnik. It's mashal you're not allowed to. So, and that was the Rebbe's Chayruah then. Again, I did not check up whether the Koil Chabad Luach says one way or the other about this. I can do that in a moment perhaps, but let's take a look. So here we're going to the second list of sources. So the first thing the Rebbe says, L'chapes be'el Yerabbe. So there we have the El Yerabbe at the top of the page. Ala kois kasher hechshich b'terem hasudo mavdil al kois yayin. It says in Minhagei Mariel at Motzei Tisha B'av, which is Nidche, he would make Havdalah and a cup of wine. He doesn't say who drank the wine. But neither the yitin latinik remain tinik yishte batzme. Then it continues. So the El Yerabbe clearly says that the cup of wine for Motzei Tisha B'av should be given to a child. So then we have the Dogim B'av, also in the same place. So the Dogim B'av is saying, Mavdil ala kois. This is in Tov Kuf Nun. I think Tov Kuf Nun. Is it Tov Kuf Nun Vav? It's the simon which talks about Tisha B'av Shechal B'Shabbos. So he says there, Maril, he writes, from the same Maril which is quoted in the El Yerabbe, the Dogim B'av says mashma that you are allowed to Havdalah ala yayin, that you're allowed to drink it yourself. In Siman Tov Kuf Nun Aleph, the Gabi during the 9 days, the Ramo says she'im yesh tinik yitin letinik. Motzei Tisha B'av is kilo, is more lenient, as the Mogen Avraham to Reish Siman Tov Kuf Nun Ches. So now let's take a look now on the left of the screen. The Mogen Avraham Reish Siman Tov Kuf Nun Ches. Sholelechel Bos Motzei Tisha B'av. Talking about Motzei Tisha B'av. Sheposhu the Besudas Mitzvah. So all the invitees, all the guests are allowed to eat bos. The Pshita the Laila Hazoi kilo. It's more lenient than Rosh Chodesh Av, etc. The Hamidina the Gemara mutter l'sapel l'chabes l'habes bebinya shal simcha mishur chol dover. Motzei Tisha B'av is not a medina the Gemara. It's mutter to do everything. And therefore, he says that legabe a suda, and whereas during the 9 days you want to make a bris or something, you're limited how many people can have fleishiks. Motzei Tisha B'av, you can have as many as you want. The fact that the Mogen Avraham mentions this leniency, and he does not mention the leniency that you can drink the cup of wine yourself, is a raya that he also holds that you can't drink the cup of wine yourself. The bottom of the page, this is again from Tov Kuf Nun Ches, where it says, this is from Tov Kuf Nun Aleph, where it says, we don't have fleishiks and we don't have wine, and that's written in Tov Kuf Nun Aleph. And the Rebbe is taking the view that this applies also for Motzei Tisha B'av, contrary to the Dogim B'av, and the fact that perhaps other poskim have taken a more lenient view. So the Rebbe is questioning that. So the Adkan is what I wanted to share with you, and you can switch off the recording now.